What's up, ladies and gentlemen? My name is Ravi Wadden, and in today's video, I want to talk about an awesome lease deal on a 2024 Rivian R1T dual motor. So if you're in the market to purchase or finance a Rivian R1T, I'd strongly suggest that you consider leasing one because right now you can get a great deal and a great value on a Rivian R1T. So what we'll do in this video is we'll go over the Rivian lease offer in detail. We'll talk about the monthly payment, the mileage allowance, and I'll give you lots of helpful tips and tricks along the way. We'll talk about the lease buyout option, and we'll also talk about how much money is due at signing. Then in the second part of this video, what we'll do is run my 1.25% rule of leasing on this Rivian R1T, and I want to show you guys why I personally think this R1T is a great lease deal in terms of value using my 1.25% rule. And then in the third part of this video, what we'll do is we'll quickly compare the monthly finance payments if you were to finance this Rivian R1T to the monthly lease payments, and I think in that part of the video, you'll see why leasing this R1T is a financial no-brainer. And then in the last part of this video, what we'll do is we'll touch on the gas savings that you could see if you were to lease this Rivian R1T. So if that sounds good to you, please give this video a big thumbs up or like this video, and please be sure to follow or subscribe. And with that, let's go ahead and jump into the computer behind me. All right, ladies and gentlemen, here we are on the Rivian website. And as you can see, you can lease an R1T, you can lease a large pack for $581 a month. And what I'm gonna do is click on Shop Available. And when I click on Shop Available, it's going to take you to this page right over here. And if you look at the left-hand side over here, I just have it filtered by dual motor all-wheel drive because this is the lease that I want to focus on. I don't want to focus on the performance or the quad motor because I think the dual motor, all-wheel drive not only has a low monthly payment compared to those other two trims, but it also is a great lease deal in terms of value. And what we'll do is we'll look at this trim right here, which is a Rivian R1T, a 2024 adventure package. It has an MSRP of $70,400, a lease estimated price of $566 a month. And this one has a 270 mile range, a 533 horsepower battery pack, and a 0 to 60 time of 4.5 seconds. So let's go ahead and click on that, and that will bring you to this page right here. And what you're going to see on the right hand side is a list of all the options, so you guys can go ahead and take a look at those. And what I'm going to do down at the bottom right hand side is click on this $566 a month. Now, as you can see, if I were to register this car, or this truck I should say, in Washington State, and I did a 36-month lease and an annual mileage allowance of 10,000 miles a year, and you can also do a 12 or a 15,000 mile a year lease if you need to do it, and it's actually much cheaper than paying the 30 cent a mile excess mileage penalty, as you can see right here. And if you have an excellent credit score and you put $6,000 down, you take that $6,000 and you add the acquisition fee and the first month's payment of $566, you get a total estimated due at signing amount of $7,461, which brings your monthly payment to $566 a month. Now, if we go ahead and read the fine print, you'll see that this applied offer includes the $7,500 EV lease credit. And ladies and gentlemen, if you were to finance or purchase this R1T, you would not get the $7,500 EV tax credit. And that's one of the benefits, and one of the biggest benefits of leasing this particular Rivian R1T, and all Rivians for that matter. Now, you'll see that the amount due at signing includes a $6,000 capitalized cost reduction, which includes a $1,000 deposit. It also includes the first month's payment, and it includes the $895 acquisition fee. And ladies and gentlemen, pretty much every lease in the country, regardless of manufacturer, has an acquisition fee. They usually vary from about $400 to $1,000, and they can be more than $1,000 depending on the manufacturer. You'll see that the additional fees like tax, title, license, registration, and documentation fees are extra. They're not included in the $7,461. So here in the state of Washington, you're probably looking at about $1,000 to register this truck per year. And then on top of that, you'd probably have to pay taxes on the $7,500 EV tax credit. And then you're probably looking at an additional, let's just say $1,800 to $2,000 due at signing on top of this $7,461. Now, you'll also notice that this lease has a $495 disposition fee, and all that means is that at the end of the lease term, if you were to turn this lease back in and not buy this lease out, you'd have to pay a $495 disposition fee, and that's standard across manufacturers. And as I already mentioned, you'd pay 30 cents a mile for excess mileage if you were to drive drive this truck more than 30,000 miles over the 3-year term. And ladies and gentlemen, if you drive 12 or 15,000 miles a year, it's much cheaper to just get that 12 or 15,000 mile a year lease up front rather than pay the excess mileage penalty of 30 cents a mile. Now, if any of you watching has experience leasing a Rivian, I'd love to hear how your experience went in terms of how much money you put down on your lease, how the deposit worked. I think there's a $1,000 deposit. So if you could provide some details, that would be greatly appreciated because, I'm always trying to learn more about leasing. So if you have some experience leasing a Rivian, I'd love to hear your thoughts and your comments below. But that brings me to the second part of this video. What we're going to do is run my 1.25% rule of leasing on this Rivian R1T. And for those of you that don't know, my 1.25% rule of leasing is just a rule of thumb that I use to determine whether or not a particular lease is a good lease in terms of value. Because when manufacturers say, hey, you can have this car for $3,000 down and $500 a month, there's really no context. Is it a $100,000 car? Is it a $150,000 car? Or is it like a $15,000 car? So just looking at monthly payment and money down really doesn't give us anything. It doesn't give us any context. So that's where my 1.25% rule of leasing comes in. Now, to run my 1.25% rule of leasing, you just bust out a calculator. You don't have to use the Apple calculator that I have here, but what I'm going to do is take the due-at signing amount of $7,461. And what I'm going to do is subtract the first month's payment because, as you can see, it's included in the due-at signing amount. So I'm going to subtract $566 from this amount, and that gives me $6,895. Now what I'm going to do is break this $6,895 into 36 equal parts, since this is a 36-month lease. And when I do that, I get roughly $191. Now what I'm going to do is add the monthly payment of $566 back into this amount, and I get a pre-tax monthly payment on this Rivian R1T of $757. But ladies and gentlemen, this isn't accounting for taxes. Now, I like to account for taxes because I like to take a conservative approach. And here in the state of Washington, where I live in Seattle, taxes are 10%, and we probably have some of the highest sales tax rates in the country. So if I factor in 10% sales tax rate by multiplying by 1.1, I get a $833 monthly payment, and that is factoring in taxes, and that's assuming $0 down. And now what I'm going to do is divide this $833 by this truck's MSRP, which you can vaguely see here in the bottom right-hand corner, which is $70,400. And that gives me 0.0118. I'm going to multiply this by 100 to move the decimal point over 2 spots. And when I do that, I get 1.18%. So ladies and gentlemen, the way my 1.25% rule of leasing works is anytime your monthly payment with $0 down, including taxes, is less than 1.5% of the MSRP, that's a good lease deal. That's a car, truck, or SUV that I am definitely leasing. If your monthly payment with $0 down, including taxes, is less than 1.25% of the MSRP, that's a great lease deal. And ladies and gentlemen, that's a car, truck, or SUV that you should definitely lease, no questions asked. And if your monthly lease payment with $0 down, including taxes, is less than 1% of the MSRP, that's a no-brainer. Those lease deals just don't come around very often. Right now I can think of like the Volkswagen ID4 that we have on DriveMatch, the Subaru Solterra, the Toyota BZ4X, maybe the Hyundai Ioniq 6 and the Ioniq 5. If you find a dealer that will honor the manufacturer's offer, those are sub 1% lease deals. But when you look at a premium truck like the Rivian R1T sitting at 1.18%, I think leasing this truck is a no-brainer compared to financing it. And in this next section, I'm going to show you why. So now in this section of the video, I want to compare the lease payments to the loan payments, and Rivian's payment estimator makes this really, really easy to do. The first thing that I want to point out is that when you lease this car, you get the $7,500 EV lease credit, but when you finance this car, you only get $3,750, and that's just due to how many of the battery minerals and materials are manufactured in the United States or with the U.S. trading partner. So if you don't meet a certain threshold, you don't get the full $7,500 credit. In this case, they get half the credit. Rivian R1T gets half the credit at $3,750. Now, if we go back to leasing, you'll see that with an estimated due at signing of $7,461 and a down payment of $6,000, you have a monthly payment of $566 a month. And if we use the same $7,461 down on the loan, let's just do 7,461 which is 11% of the vehicle's value, you get an APR rate of 6.99%, and it's actually factoring in destination fee and Washington taxes. You have a monthly finance payment of $1,191 a month. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is why I think leasing this truck is a no-brainer. On a 72-month loan, even if you do an 84-month loan, let's really spread this thing out, your monthly payment is still $1,089 a month. Compared to when you're leasing this truck with the same $6,000 down, your monthly payment's only $566 a month. And even if you wanted to do a 15,000 mile a year lease, your monthly payment, still is only $623 a month. And maybe, even if you factor in some of the fees I'm missing out, so maybe the taxes on the $7,500, and even if you want to factor in registration, your monthly payment with a 15,000 mile a year lease maybe jumps up to $700 a month plus tax. So it's still a no-brainer to lease this truck. Honestly, you'd probably have to get a $15,000 or $20,000 discount if you were to finance this truck to get the payment anywhere close. And that's just not happening with Rivian because, it's just what you see is what you pay. There's no negotiating the price. Now, a lot of you guys, watching this video, and a lot of people who don't fully understand leasing, and that's okay, but a lot of people that don't understand leasing say, hey, Ravi, but when you finance this truck, you get to keep it for as long as you want. But with Rivian leases, you do have a buyout option. Now, most manufacturers list the buyout terms here. They'll tell you what the residual value is and what you can buy the car for at the end of the lease term, but Rivian doesn't list it out. But I know that you can buy Rivians at the end of the lease term. So if you have equity at the end of the lease, you have the option to buy this Rivian and potentially keep it long term. Now, the last thing I want to talk about is the gas savings when you lease this R1T, because if you charge at home like I do and you own an electric car, our electric bill goes up about $50 to $60 depending on the month and how much we charge and when we charge. And even when we drive like crazy, like 15,000 miles a year, we're still looking at about $55 to $60 a month. And if this Rivian R1T, with 533 or 540 horsepower were an internal combustion engine truck, it's only getting 15 to 16 miles per gallon tops, and you're probably putting premium full fuel, and you'd probably have to pay for oil changes at least once or twice a year. And when you factor in those savings, you're easily saving, $150 a month, which brings the effective cost or the effective lease payment down even further, making this Rivian R1T an even better deal in my opinion. And with that, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to call it a video. If you guys want, awesome pre-negotiated lease deals, check out DriveMatch.com. It's a company that I co-founded, and it'll save you time and money. We've got some incredible lease deals on DriveMatch.com, and the cars can be shipped anywhere in the country, rock bottom prices. But if you have any questions about this R1T or leasing in general, please drop them in the comment section below. And happy Friday to you guys. With that, I'm going to call it a video. Financial knowledge is power. Please like and follow for more.